Hi, Dr. Rob.
Good day to you, Tammy. How are you doing? I know
I'm
how you
doing.
are. You're busy.
It has been nonstop. There are phone calls that came in over the weekend, and I kind of filter those, but I'm going to need to call some people yet. So, but I'm
Well,
grateful. I mean, that means people are. Here's what I look at it is: there's people that need help that are actually reaching out for help. They're not just pretending like this is all going to get better and go away on its own. So I'm grateful that they're reaching out for help and support. So, because we have that.
and I was just going to say that the mamas and the papas said, Monday, Monday, can't trust that day. And here we are,
And here we are every
remembering
Monday.
things that no one else does. Okay.
I remember this. So yeah. Okay. So we're going to start with the first question. So if you are joining us, please type your questions in the Q&A and we will do our best to answer them in the order presented. So the first
And even
question.
though, sorry, even though we're recording, you are not being recorded. Everything here is anonymous. We'll read the questions you send. We won't read your name and we will answer them as best we can. Sorry, Tammy.
Correct. That's okay. So 2 years post D-Day, can you help SAPALA husbands understand how important it is for betrayed partners to see, in all caps, consistent commitment and consistent, committed, and mindful recovery work for us to even want to work on our connection with them? No recovery work equals no desire to be with them.
Yeah, I don't know how this person is doing in terms of consistent, committed,
I,
mindful
I would
recovery
say,
work. So,
this person is the partner who is going, my addict is not doing consistent work, and why would
right,
I want to be involved?
right. No, I got that. I just don't, I don't know what consistent and committed would look like, but I think it would be very much about something you would see. It doesn't mean they have to be happy and enjoying themselves, but they're going and they're being consistent. Um, so I don't think that, how do I say this? I think that only you can help him understand. There's a lot of like second person here, like how can you help? How can betrayed? I would say this is really about you. How can I? And what I would say to you, it's about your setting your boundaries and maintaining them. No addict seeks recovery unless they are pushed to. And if this, I was his husband, if this man is comfortable um, the way he's living, having his evenings to watch Netflix instead of going to meetings, that's fine with him as long as you don't have the kind of response that he couldn't tolerate. So, it isn't up to you what he does, but it is up to you to take care of yourself. If you are in pain sitting around watching this person not do anything, I think you get to decide how you want to spend your time and how you want to take care of yourself. And it may not be around him. By the way, someone like this would not be sleeping in my bed for sure. There would be boundaries and structure in the house. And, you want to get even close to me, you're going to be showing me and committing to recovery. The other thing is I wrote a book about this called Out of the Doghouse, a relationship saving guide for men caught cheating. It's the longest subtitle, a relationship saving guide for men caught cheating. Tammy, did you know that is my #1 books out of 10?
Oh,
That
really?
more than Sex Addiction 101, people buy Doghouse. And
Well, that makes sense because a lot of people, don't perceive that there is sex addiction, in their life. That it's just a cheat. I'm just cheating, and some of them may just be cheating. So I'm not, trying to relabel, but I can see, for the people that got caught, you should write a book for the relationship saving guide for the people who aren't caught yet. Just kidding.
I
Just
think
kidding.
that's what we have a treatment center for, is to
That's
wake
true.
them up so they don't get in worse trouble. But in any
Yeah.
case, I did write this book because, and I really want you to hear this, men do not understand how to repair relationship damage that they've created with a woman. Men are problem solvers, but we like the problem to be solved. Like, well, it's been 3 weeks or it's been 3 months, and we don't like those emotional parts. We like them to go away. Like, aren't you going to be nicer to me? Or aren't you going to, we do not understand what kind of pain we've put you through. In other words, we don't understand the depth of the problem that we've created. So we don't really understand how to fix it. And that's why I wrote Doghouse, because flowers and I love you and I'm so sorry and please forgive me and I didn't mean it, or I'm just a sex addict, I didn't know what I was doing. All that crap doesn't really help at all. And so I wrote a book to try to help men understand what they needed to do to restore a relationship with a woman that they'd broken. And if they don't want to do that, there are many opportunities to book and say, you know, you don't have to stay. You don't have to do all this hard work. I've had husbands say, well, maybe I could just leave this relationship and then I can do whatever I wanted. And the answer is yes, you can leave the relationship and do whatever you want. But if you want to be in this relationship, and I made a book full of lists, there are things that you have to do and ways you have to act to earn your way back into the house, which is why the word doghouse is in the title. Tami, you hear this question all the time. What are you thinking?
Well, I was going to add, and yes, you can leave the relationship, but if you don't change, you're going to do it to the next relationship. I was talking to somebody who unfortunately had been through 4 major relationships and children in them, and was still not at the point where he was willing to change. And so I'm like, you're going to keep doing this until and unless you get help to stop. So I also think I hear often, going back to what the cheater says, that when are you going to get over this? That one's so painful for betrayed partners. Like, when are you going to forgive me? When are you going to get over this? Like, I haven't done it for 3 weeks. So, can't you see I'm completely different now? And why aren't you trusting me? And that's really painful for partners because, again, it's so unempathetic. It's not showing any caring or acknowledgement of the pain that they've put through consistently. And the ongoing lying adds to that. Next question.
Well, I just want to think about the last sentence, which is no recovery work, no desire to be with them. So this person has just given us a paragraph about no recovery work. And so if that means you have no desire to be with him, then I would begin to think about, okay, how am I going to eat meals when we're not sitting together? How am I going to be in this room if I don't want to be here? Maybe I should take a time out from talking with this person. I mean, no desire to be with them is not just a concept for the future. You said no recovery work. That's not happening now. So I think you need to think about acting on your desire to not be with them in some concrete way. Because I think that will make you feel better. Tami, let's move on.
I love that idea. Okay, next question. Hi, Dr. Rob and Tami. Thank you for the time you two provide. My question is, how does a recovering SA view their BP, betrayed partner, who chooses to stay? Can an SA truly respect someone that they have treated with so little respect in their deception and betrayal? That's a great question. You deal with this all the time with our clients that are in our treatment program.
Well, I think that it's difficult for a spouse all the way across the board in terms of this kind of question, like, if you loved me, you wouldn't do this to me. And the answer is, I could love you and worship you and adore you, and you could be the most beautiful person in the world, and I would still do this because it's my problem. So I think there's a difference between my desire or interest in treating you with disrespect and betrayal versus how it leaves you feeling. I don't think sex addicts are out there seeking to disrespect our partners by leaving them feeling deceived. But that's what we're doing. Our intention is to lose ourselves in this behavior, and you happen to be, and the damage to you is like a byproduct, but we're really not thinking about you at all. So just to say that part. The other thing is, I think I've done some research in the 5 treatment programs that I've created on this issue, including women's programming at one time. And I would say somewhere, Tami, around 80 to 85% of our couples stay together. So maybe 90. And I will consider that personally a good track record. And I think that has continued to seeking integrity, where most of the people that go through, a lot of the wives and spouses will say a lot of things at the beginning that are not very, very welcoming of the relationship continuing. But by the end, when they hear that the men we're working with have begin to come into themselves and begin to speak from their heart and begin to, as this person said, have empathy for their betrayed partner, I think treatment does make that kind of difference that helps you understand that they do love you, they do care, and they're just terribly broken. I wrote a book called Prodependence. It's like Rob's book night. And I think if I were to look at you having stayed, I would have tremendous respect for you that you were willing to stay despite all the ways that I've hurt you. And again, I don't think that every recovering person gets this, but I do know the guys who go through treatment get this, is they really get how much they've hurt a spouse. And nobody leaves us without understanding how much damage they've caused to their relationship. So one of the ways I think we view you spouses is with fear, that now you really know all this, we're going to lose you. I think we view you with anger sometimes, like, how come I have to jump through all these hoops to make this person happy? I think we view you with awe that you were willing to stay with us. I mean, think about what it means to me. If I hate myself, I can't believe I did these things. I wouldn't want anybody, I wouldn't live with anybody who'd done all this. And you choose to stay with me. I would even think to myself, wow, this person still sees some good in me. That's how I would look at it as an addict, not because we're all focused on ourselves. So we're not thinking that you are not taking care of yourself or don't deserve respect for staying with us. We think, wow, there must be some good part of us that that person sees that I don't see in myself that has made them want to stay. So I think that this concern that you are going to feel disrespected and not considered with valuable is something you might feel. You know, I'm more concerned that you are worried that you are not doing something respectable. And I want you to know that I have incredible compassion for and excitement for people who want to go back into their hurt relationships and make them better. So I think you're a hero in my mind. And I don't think any addict would believe that your staying is anything more than a gift.
Well said. Okay, next question. I moved out of our bedroom 3 months ago because he was not disclosing slips relapses. He doesn't want to do the work. I need to feel safe. Accuses me of abandoning him. Oh, sorry. And I can't get this to.
Just throw it against the wall. That's usually
Yeah,
works for me.
well, I was trying to do it on my computer. I'm sorry. Okay. I moved out of our bedroom 3 months ago because he was not disclosing relapses and slips. He doesn't want to do the work. I need to feel safe. Accuses me of abandoning him. He's emotionally, verbally abusive. Why wouldn't his CSAT share with him how his actions or lack thereof are resulting in my safety measures and what he needs to be doing so I feel safe again?
Okay, so let me just start with accuses me of abandoning him. No addict is a victim. We are the cause of the problem, not victims of the problem. So if you choose to keep distance from me because you don't feel safe, you're not abandoning me. I abandon you by not doing the things to keep you feeling safe. So, and the whole emotionally, verbally abusive, I mean, I don't know what that means exactly, but I can tell you that, you know, first of all, if there's physical abuse, you know, you need to change the locks. If there are children around and there's violence or even abuse, and I say this a lot, like couples just sometimes don't realize how profoundly they're affecting their children with the anger and the hurt and the disappointment and the, you know, all the stuff that they have to watch. And if there's verbal or emotional abuse going on in your home and your children are witnessing that or experiencing it in you, that really concerns me a lot. I don't know what, first of all, if I am a therapist and I am your therapist, I cannot disclose to anyone else what you're doing. I can't, you could tell me that you know, I don't know. You could tell me you pushed someone in the ocean and drowned them last week. And as a therapist, I can't do anything about that because they're already dead. If you told me that you planned on pushing someone and you're bringing them out to a cliff tonight, then I could do something about it because I'd have to protect them. So no CSAT is going to call you and say, hey, partner, let me tell you what's going on in therapy that you don't know about. We're just not allowed to do that. Now, you may have a release that is open for you to talk to his therapist or talk to each other. Personally, I would rather do it with the person in attendance. If I had a concern, and I think this is good for addiction therapy, if I am married to you and you have a concern about my behavior, I think you are very welcome in my therapy to come in and express your concerns. And I would hope that your spouse's CSAT is a form of therapist that works with sex addicts. I would hope that therapist is open to your leaving messages, to your, you know, you're not going to be involved in the therapy, but you have information to provide that would be helpful for the therapy. And so I would think any therapist would welcome that in this situation. I'll just say one more thing to you guys. Sorry, Tammy, to go on and on, but these are all related things. I don't know how long this person has been a CSAT or has worked in this part of the field, but you have to understand how our clients, the addicts, sound. They do that. Let's say they're doing really well. They're working on their recovery. They're going to meetings. But they say to everyone in group and everyone individually, "Oh, my wife is such a pain in the butt," or "Oh my God, she's such a witch," or "Oh, my husband is driving me crazy." And why do they say that? Because they don't want you to be angry, and they don't want you to be unhappy, and they don't want you to not cheer for their recovery 3 months in, which you can't because you're angry and hurt. So they go to groups and organizations and therapists and complain about you. And I can remember being a therapist 15 years ago, probably longer maybe, where I was sitting in men's groups, week after week, and these guys were all complaining about their spouses. And we used to think, wow, you spouses are really crazy. Look what these guys have to say about you. But then we realized that the reality of you spouses was not what these guys were saying. So I'm just saying that a CSAT or any therapist might be fooled by some of the ways that your spouse presents the relationship and presents you, and might be very surprised to find out you're a very different person, because addicts love to be the victim and have people go, "Oh, I'm so sorry your wife is so difficult." That's much easier than our facing how we made your life miserable. Tammy, I know you probably want to move on because they went on forever,
No,
but
well, no. I have a
if you
couple
have
of thoughts
anything,
on this. I do. So first of all, why did you move out of the bedroom? Why is he not out of the bedroom? That was my first thought of like, why did you have to, I mean, I would have gone, "You're out." That would have been me. But the whole thing that Dr. Rob just talked about with the CSAT. But I'm also going 3 months ago, because he wasn't disclosing slips and relapses. I don't think he ever was in recovery. So I would think he's just been an active addiction. This has been going on a long time. And if the CSAT needs to know that he is lying to his CSAT if he's saying everything's going well and that things are not going well. And Dr. Rob has talked about this before, a higher level of help. If this isn't enough, then he needs to see his therapist twice a week. What else is he doing? If he's just going to see his, even if it's the most amazing CSAT and he's doing that once a week for 50 minutes, and that's all he's doing, this is what you get. This is pretty typical, because addiction is 24/7. So 50 minutes a week, is a drop in the bucket to try to change stuff that's years and decades old. So we have a treatment program. He sounds like a prime candidate for that, and I would be happy to tell you more about that. So,
by the way, Tammy, as long as you're doing a little bit of marketing, let me stop here and say that
it's
we have
not
online.
marketing; it's resource sharing.
Okay, but we still have a great program. We'd love you to come to
Mm-hmm,
us, because that pays for all the free stuff we do for everyone else. Trust me,
mm-hmm.
like this. But I was going to say something about being emotionally abusive. Doesn't want to. I was just going to, since you're marketing, I was going to mention the courses, because we offer courses all year round for men and women who have really been struggling with recovery, and they've been getting some of what they need in therapy, but the kind of work that addiction healing requires, there's writing, there's journaling, there's exercises, there's an educational component. One of the things I love about doing residential treatment and IOPs and stuff that I've done, where I get to spend a few weeks with clients, is that we lecture every day and we educate every day, and everybody's got homework every day. And in fact, you guys at Seeking Integrity tonight, I hope you do have homework, because I'm going to look for it tomorrow when I come in to see you. But in any case, I think if you have someone in therapy, have them take a course, because at least they'll get a balanced sense of, they'll kind of gain, we need to learn here as well as here. And I've always found that therapy is limiting in that way, because you don't really get the educational piece like outpatient therapy. So there are other things that this person can do to begin to learn how to make you feel safe. But is he willing to learn how to make you feel safe? And that's up to him.
I put a link in the chat, but for those listening on YouTube, on seekingintegrity.com, under online workshops and lectures, you'll see a variety of offerings, including the monthly offering for Sex and Porn Addiction 101. We have a new one, Porn Addiction 101. We've got the Chem Sex with Dr. David. We've got a couples healing workshop. So there's a number of resources on seekingintegrity.com, all delivered in an online format. So, okay, next question. My SA husband and I have been having great conversations We recently talked about how open he is to suggestion. When we met, he visited me at home often, and on his birthday, he said he could come over, and I said we could go out. He agreed. When we were dating, I had to move out of my rental and did not know where I was going. He said he would rent a place and my kids and I could hang out a lot. I suggested we move in together and he agreed. I told him if we moved in together, I would want it to be a long-term and warned him about the huge responsibility of an instant family. He agreed. He never proposed, but after 2 years, I said, maybe we should set a date. He agreed. Flash forward 25 years and he began seeing legal sex workers. The second lady suggested they communicate in person daily, spend more time together to relax and talk about the sex, have dinners together and send her money for basic needs while he was on the phone. He agreed to all of this. I guess I don't know. There was no question on that. So
That's okay. I can say a few
yeah,
things about this.
please.
Well, first of all, what's a legal sex worker? I just have to ask.
Well, I
because
think if
don't
you're
think,
in certain states, there's, I mean, I
oh,
think,
like in Nevada
in
or
Las
something like
Vegas,
that.
yeah. I mean, there are
Mhm.
certain states where, it is legalized. And I think more states have
Okay.
done that. So anyway,
Well, and it also may be people in strip clubs or who are doing sex work that isn't necessarily pay
true.
me to have sex with you, but
Mhm.
it could be pay me to dance in front of you. So anyway, I just want to understand that. So there are two issues here. First of all, I'm not sure what the first part about the history and moving in together and all that was 25 years ago. So I'm not sure I understand how that relates to him, what the second stuff is, which is the sex workers. And can you maybe help, Tammy? Do you have a thought about how
I'm not
those?
sure, but it seems like he is conflict avoidant. So if somebody says something, oh, okay. And so now there's a sex worker who's saying we should have dinner, we should meet, we should whatever. And he's like, oh, okay. So to me, I think the correlation could be all of this history is like, okay. And now he's seeing a sex worker and going, oh, okay.
So what do you want to do about this? This person you've been with for 25 years is seeing, I don't want to use nice words, sex workers. So what do you want to do with that? It's not only that he wants to have sex with this person, he also wants to have a personal relationship with them and spend time together, relax, talk, have dinners. That's a relationship. So this is not seeing a sex worker. This is, he wants to have an affair. Well, he's already probably having the affair and has been for a while. So there isn't a question really that you've asked, but you said he agreed to all of this. And I would say, and I've agreed to see a lawyer. That's where I would be. This is, completely unacceptable. And this is a good reason to kick somebody out, by the way. Go be with your, I hate to use bad words, go be with your sex worker, have a good time. You don't need me. I'm going to go see a lawyer and divide up our funds. This is an awful story.
Yes. Yeah. Next question. Why don't the addicts see that learning about the effects of betrayal trauma by reading, doing workshops, podcasts, and implementing the tools are what we need to show that they are remorseful and care about the damage they've caused and the path we're in? Discovery was 3 years ago this month. I'm the betrayed spouse.
Why don't you
Some
start,
of them
Tammy, and
do. Well,
I'll
I
be
was gonna
glad
say,
to.
yeah, I mean, some of them do. Some of them actively engage and get the help they need to be able to tolerate the discomfort. Because the challenge is if I start seeing how I've hurt you, oh my gosh, that's like one of those terribly uncomfortable feelings that I was avoiding at all costs. I don't want to do that. So it's very triggering. So they have to have the support and stability to be able to handle the uncomfortable and not run away, not
Shame.
not run away to shame, not relapse, whatever the problematic thing is. So someone who is on a recovery path does learn it, but it's increments. It's not like they wake up one day and go, oh my gosh, I read the most amazing book by Dr. Rob Weiss called Out of the Doghouse, and now I understand completely. It's relearning, it's retraining.
Yeah, I do agree with Tammy that people are starting from scratch with their ability to relate intimately and to be kind. And, we have spent, if you're an active sex addict, you have spent years avoiding showing you my feelings, what I'm really doing. I have lied to you for many years, not just with what I did, but also how I act toward you. And so I have worked really hard to not let you know what I was doing and not feel bad what I was doing. And now I'm in a situation where I'm being asked to be much more open about how I feel, and it isn't going to look good. You're going to be angry. I'm going to feel ashamed. And as Tami said, those are the feelings I acted out over, feeling uncomfortable, feeling like I let someone down, feeling like they might abandon me. I mean, all of that stuff. But there's a piece in here that I just want to say, and implementing the tools. And then you wrote about to show he's remorseful. I assume it's a he, it could be she. And I think those are different things. I mean, this person needs to implement tools so that they can stay sober, so they can become a better person, so that they can be honest, so they can not hurt other people. I mean, all of that. But I don't necessarily mean that those tools are going to make them remorseful. I've seen people grab those tools and say, I'm done with this relationship. It wasn't the right marriage. And they were right. I'm not saying their acting out was right, but I'm just saying that as we self-explore and we grow and we look at ourselves and we look more clearly at our relationships, I might not want to heal it with you, but I would want to know that. And if I were you, I'd want to know that. In other words, if I were you, I would want to know, look, are you sincerely committed to a relationship with him, moving down that path, or do you really just want to do whatever it is you want? Because I can't live with one of those choices and I can live with the other. It's really about what you can tolerate. And after 3 years, I don't know. I think it's time for you to stand up and say, this is what I need, and this is how I need it. And here is the bottom line. If you're not just unable, but unwilling to really work at that. But we do hear a lot of recovery people who are not very nice to their spouses, even though they're in recovery. And I would often say that, you can get sober reasonably quickly with the right help, but it can take a long time to learn how to be a good person. And especially if you've been lying and hiding and cheating, now we're going in the other direction. We're supposed to be empathic and kind. Last thing, when you all ask why addicts don't feel more empathic, more understanding of your pain, I'm going to say something that may sound like an excuse, but it's just a reality. If I was never taught to be empathic for my own pain, if I was never taught, no one ever showed me any empathy for what I was going through. If I had to grew up having to hide my feelings because I didn't think anyone was going to meet my needs, just because I get sober doesn't mean I, inside of me, intuitively understand what you need, because I never got it. And that stuff is very psychotherapy oriented. Do you mind if I tell a story about that, Tami?
Go for it.
So when I was an I was young once. When I was a young therapist, I was treating children who were being abused. I was a young social worker. And, I would ask the more experienced people around me, how, I'd get a file to stick on a kid and they'd been abused a number of times by the same parent. And I would ask, how can a kid get hit like that and not do something about it? And you go to the kid and you say, hey, what happened? And he says, oh, I fell down, or, mom dropped something, or they will never give the parents responsibility or any of that. They will, of course, blame themselves. So I went to a professional who I was training me, and I said, I don't really understand this. Isn't it true that most men who hit their children were hit themselves? And the answer is yes. Most men who hit their children were hit themselves as children. And then I said, well, I don't understand it. If I was hit as a kid, I would never want to hit my child. Like, I would understand how painful and how scary. And the therapist said, no, you don't understand. If you grow up and you just think, I was a kid who needed a lot of direction, and I'm the kind of kid who needed to be thrown over his dad's lap, and my dad's discipline or my mom's discipline was really needed because I was a tough kid. If they're in that place, then it's easy for them to say, and my kid needs it too. But the person who realizes how much they hurt, how unhappy that childhood was, how much they longed for affection instead of abuse, once they get in touch with how painful it was to be hit, the feelings around it, then they can't hit their children anymore. And so if I can betray you and violate you and hurt you, and not feel anything, it's probably because I was betrayed and hurt and violated. And I haven't really gotten in touch with the degree to which that rules my life today. So that's a very long psychological explanation that may sound like I'm asking you to feel sorry for us addicts. And I'm not. I'm simply saying that we may not have the skill set to give you what you want because we may not necessarily have it for ourselves. And that's a journey that goes beyond sobriety. That's a lot of healing, a lot of therapy, a lot of work. So thank you, Tami, for letting me say that.
So the next question is, as a betrayed partner, my SA husband of 35 years has cheated during the entirety of our relationship. He claims that he did not feel guilty for cheating, just fearful of getting caught. This sounds like a person who has no conscience. How can this be? Is this typical of addicts, and what does it mean?
Tami, I'm going to let you have that one. I'll follow you. That's a great question for you.
Well, I'm of two minds. Either he has no conscience or he just can't handle feeling bad, and it's just easier to keep that compartmentalized. And I don't know which. But someone who's that out of touch with it, I don't know. I mean, I'm thinking
Well,
either
I can
really
jump off.
emotionally, yes, please do, because you're either
Yeah,
emotionally disconnected from everybody else's feelings about anything. I just want me, 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 me.
well, for sure. I think that many of the men who come to seeking integrity do not feel guilty for their behavior. They are afraid you're going to leave them. And this is very similar. I don't feel bad about cheating. I just don't want to get caught. I'm not worried about having hurt you. I'm worried you're going to leave me. I mean, it's all that kind of back and forth. This is addiction. Addiction is about living in a compartmentalized fashion where I can put my love and caring for you in this box and I can protect it from what I'm doing over here. My life is split into pieces, but you get this me and the other person gets that me, and I don't really put the two together in my head. So the person who cheats and disappears and lies to you, I don't think of as a guy who doesn't love you. I mean, I love you when I'm with you, but then over here, when I'm with this other situation, I'm not thinking about hurting you at all. I'm thinking about what I'm doing there. So, um, I separate what I'm doing and feeling bad about it from my fear of getting caught. I put them all in boxes. No, I don't feel guilty about cheating, but I am terrified of your catching me and me getting into trouble. This is also what part of treatment is about, because I don't think anybody leaves treatment, at least not that I run, not feeling, unless they are sociopaths, unless they don't have the ability to have a conscience. Part of what we do is we ask spouses of partners, in this male or female, of the guys we have in treatment, to write a letter and to tell us exactly what you spouses went through in relationship to us and our cheating and all of that. And then we bring that into treatment and that is read. So your voice is there about how it felt to you to get cheated and what you've been through. And when we read those spouses letters, it's quite powerful, because I'll have a guy say, well, my wife has said that to me 1,000,000 times, but I'm just so tired of hearing it from her. But when you read it, I start to feel guilty and realize what I've done. We spend our lives trying to not feel guilty. And really that is part of what treatment and therapy is about, is coming out of denial to understand how I really do feel about this.
Yeah, I think my confusion on this was I was thinking of somebody who has stopped the behavior and is progressing in a different way, but this person does not identify that at all. And so, yeah, I would preserve the not feeling bad at all costs. I don't want to feel bad. Compartmentalizing makes sense. So, okay, next question. As a husband is still compartmentalizing his past and finds 12-step meetings humiliating rather than deriving any benefit from them. How do you facilitate progress in this area? Any suggestions?
Again, Tami, I think you get this call all the time. How do we move them forward when they complain about the recovery that's being put in front of them? And how does a partner facilitate or manage a situation like this?
Healthy boundaries for themselves. I mean, If you're going to a 12-step meeting and all you are feeling is humiliated, you're missing the point, because it's a whole bunch of people who are just like you. And if you go and start looking at, if you're looking for why you're different, you've got the wrong lens. If you're going, how can I relate to the pain that that person is sharing? I can relate to the pain, even though my details are different. Nobody's got exactly the same story, but as we go around the room, like, I can relate to every single person, even some that I would label as kind of annoying in the meetings. That's me. It's not them, it's me. But it's one of those things where if I put on my lens and go, how can I connect to this person? Then I go, oh my gosh, that completely resonates with me. So to me, this is, he is stuck in the why I'm so terminally unique, why I am so special, why, it's so painful for me that I shouldn't have to do this. What healthy boundaries do you need to set for you?
Yeah, I was going to speak to that, and I agree with Tammy on the point she just made, which is this isn't about your facilitating progress in someone else. This is, if you're in a situation where your needs are being met, someone's lying to you, they're betraying you, they're violating you, how are you going to come to peace with that? How do you make sense of all this for yourself and take care of yourself? And by the way, when you take care of yourself, which might mean locking us out of the bedroom or locking us out of the house or going to see a lawyer or, telling us if we don't get some help, blah, 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 you are feeling stronger and stronger when you do that. And out of that, those boundaries, that structure, we may well say, oh my gosh, I've got to work on myself, or I don't get back in that bedroom, or I don't get back in that house. But you're not doing that. And this is the difficult part, because you want to make us do something. That rarely works. And besides, you don't know if we did it for ourselves or you or any of that. You have to go take care of yourself. And in that process, we will sometimes realize that, we're not going to get any further unless we really attend to the problem. I did want to say something also about the husband saying that he finds 12-step meetings humiliating. Well, there's two parts. One is narcissism, which is if you take everything that's happening in a meeting personally and feel humiliated by it, then you're making everything about you. That's very narcissistic. Well, I don't belong here because these people have done bad things, and I don't want to look at myself as like one of these people. That's kind of narcissistic and arrogant, and that goes along with being an addict. So, he qualifies or she qualifies. The other piece is, I don't know that that's true. Just because I told you I feel humiliated in that situation, it may just be the way that I get out of going. The way I get out of having to do this is telling you I felt humiliated, but maybe I didn't. Maybe I just didn't want to go. And besides which, look, I know people who don't have kidneys, who go for dialysis every week, and they are humiliated and embarrassed, and they have to expose parts of their body in ways that they don't want to, but they go to dialysis every week because they want to live, and they want to live healthy. It doesn't matter how embarrassing. I have a friend who had a colostomy. How humiliating, embarrassing could that be? But she manages it. She takes care of it. She still has a partnership. She still has a sex life. She's humiliated, but she still is moving on with her life into acceptance. And I don't think feeling humiliated is an excuse for not taking care of myself. Look how humiliated you are. And I didn't give a crap about that. So I wouldn't be so worried about his feeling humiliated. I think that's not your problem.
So next question, what do I do as a betrayed partner in a 34-year marriage with a recovering SA? He's been emotionally avoidant during the entire relationship, but used me for sex. I found out about his porn addiction in 1998. I didn't even know there was such a thing as a porn addiction back then. It wasn't until 2012 when I discovered he was addicted to sex too. I found out by forced confession that he'd been cheating with women since we'd been dating. At my insistence, he's been doing intensives, group work, some therapy. However, he's been sexually avoidant since his last affair in 2012. He's a great husband and dad in other ways. And I found out that he's working extra hard at doing good things to make up for his fear of being sexual with me. My last boundary was to move out of the bedroom. I don't even know if he will care because we weren't sexual anyway. I know it's not my fault and something is wrong with him, but I'm humiliated. There's that word again. I feel so bad and in great pain because of his rejection. I can't afford to move out. Sorry.
Be something. It may cut
Yeah.
people off. So Tammy, I'm
Yeah.
going to ask you to start because I'm going to run to the restroom and I'm going to think about this and I'll be right back. And there's a lot of meat on that bone. So
Yeah, there is. So yeah, what a journey. And I'm so sorry for you. But so one of the podcasts that Dr. Rob did was with doctors Bill and Ginger Burkaw, and it was sexual reintegration. And I can't help but wonder if the two of you could benefit from doing something in that workbook. I think they do some online work shops and things as well. But listen to the podcast and see if it's even something you want to do. Dr. David often talks about sensate focused, and it isn't about, it isn't just about sex. And what I hear too is, he's afraid. And I can't imagine that both of you don't have some fear or like, what do you need to do to step it back? And like you were dating, like go hold hands, walk through the park, look into each other's eye, just sit across from each other and have a conversation. Maybe he rubs your feet. I don't, whatever's workable for you and whatever level of touch you need. But we are human beings that, need touch. So what is a safe boundary for you? What would be workable for you? And start slow, not just, I'm sure there's a ton of fear if he's been avoiding all of this for so long. It has to be scary for each and both of you.
Thanks, Tammy. I agree. I agree with all of that. And I like to pick out words, right? So at my insistence, he's been doing intensive group work therapy. So why is it at your insistence? Why isn't he showing up and saying, I want to make things better? And now that I'm, I guess, not acting out, I didn't hear recovering essay. It's a woman. She put recovering in quotes. Did you see
Yes,
that?
I did see that.
We don't know how much this partner is actually working on the healing or changing this behavior. I hope that he is. I will tell you that we are sexually avoidant. We're intimacy avoidant. That is part of being a sex addict. So we will go from having sex with 100 people that we don't know to avoiding sex with an intimate partner, because it's easy for us sex addicts to have sex where we feel we have a sense of control. The person can't hurt us. They can't let us down. Porn, sex workers, they're not going to disappoint me. But you, my partner, you can hurt me. You can let me down. Intimacy is terrifying for us. So we keep ourselves at a distance from you sexually because that's hard for us emotionally. But boy, do we use you for the family piece and the loving piece. So I don't understand why it's at your insistence. I don't necessarily believe that he's been sexually avoidant since 2012. I wonder how many other people he might be having sex with or what you don't know about, because I don't hear recovery. And the last thing about, and I hear a lot of partners say this, and this is a hard thing to say to you back, but when you say he's a great husband and dad in other ways, I don't think that's accurate. I don't think you can pick apart, oh, well, this is a wonderful person, except for these terrible, terrible things that they do. First of all, he's not a great husband. What great husband cheats and won't embrace recovery and is emotionally avoidant and doesn't want to have sex with you? And what makes that, I'm sorry, that counts toward great husband, and it doesn't sound very great to me. So you can say he's a great friend. You can say he's a great roommate, but a great husband gets emotionally engaged with you and tries to work things out, especially being sexual with you. And then the part about him being a great dad, I got to counter that too, because the man who is not emotionally supportive of his spouse, female, the man who is leaving her feeling anxious or angry or fearful or alone, is hurting their children. Because when you partners feel our absence, when you don't get our support and you begin to feel like, I guess I'm running this family by myself, or I feel like I have 3 children, these 2 little ones, and the person I'm married to, that means that you don't have a great marriage and this person's not being a good dad. If you are affected by an addict's behavior, your children are too. And so I don't mean to cause you pain. What I mean is, and if he were here, I would love him to hear, no, you haven't been a great husband, and no, you're not a great dad. And yeah, and I'm not sure you even belong in that house. So anyway, she says, I'm humiliated and in great pain. Um, I hear the rejection piece, but the bigger rejection would be, why isn't he working? Why isn't he coming to me and saying, let's work on this. Let's make this better. I want to be intimate with you. Just ignoring it, that would be a greater pain to me than actually whether we're having sex or not. There are a lot of ways, as Tami said, to find your way back to sexuality. We know a lot of therapists who will work with you on restoring or engaging a couple who've been separate for a long time into a sexual relationship. We know how to do that as therapists, and there are books, as Tami said. But willingness and his desire to come and say, I want to be closer to you on many levels, we can't do that. We can't create motivation. And that's the part I'm sad about for you, is this person seems willing to be distant from you on a bunch of levels, and that's just fine with him. It doesn't have to be fine with you.
So I was thinking too, Troy Love did a webinar a couple weeks ago, and we talked about attachment styles and attachment wounds and things. And I would invite you on sexandrelationshiphealing.com on the resource tab under previously recorded. Go check out the one that was the end of July. That may resonate with both and each of you. So, okay, next question. I'm the youngest of 4 and the only boy. Parents divorced was when I was 13 years old. I feel I didn't get any support from my sisters. Felt like I was just that annoying little brother. Now feel like it's always my fault that the relationship with my sister, the middle one, is not working out. I feel ignored and that she is condensing and patronizing towards me, or condescending, I think it probably was, and patronizing towards me. But she does call me when she needs something. Thoughts on boundaries? Will this be our relationship forever?
Well, I mean, I don't know you and I don't know your situation, but it sounds like it's already been your relationship forever. I mean, you said that you didn't get support from her when you were 13. So why would you think you're going to have an intimate, supportive relationship now that you're, 50? The hardest thing for me in recovery is accepting the people. One of the hardest things is accepting the people that I care about as they are. I think as addicts and narcissistic people, I get angry at people if they're not acting in a way that rewards me. If you didn't say thank you, I'm going to say, well, why didn't you say thank you? I mean, at least that's me. I want to make sure my needs get met and all of that kind of stuff. But I have to accept that there are people, and in my case, my sister, who is not emotionally available, who can be very hurtful, who I had 25 years of therapy. She's had none. We grew up in the same family. And, I had to distance myself because I didn't want to get hurt, and holding out expectations that someone will finally see you or finally get you or finally love you is like holding out an empty cup, looking for somebody to fill it up. It doesn't work that way. My husband often says to me, go where you're wanted, go where you're welcome, go where people are excited to see you. And inevitably, because of how I grew up, I moved toward the person who doesn't really like me to try to figure out why, or try to get into that group and be friends with people who really aren't interested in being friends with me. I've learned and recovered. So I wonder what it would mean if you accepted your sister as she is and grieve that relationship and then engage in it on a more superficial way. What I learned to do is go to my sister's house for Thanksgiving and go for a couple of hours and have a little turkey and say, great to see you. And then I wouldn't come back till the 4th of July. That was the level of relationship I could have and still get to engage. But had I asked her to be more and give more and do more, that's when I get hurt, because I'm holding out first, and I'm not nice to people because I'm asking them to do things that isn't native to them because I want them to. So anyway, that's a lot of stuff, but I think hopefully it relates to what you're saying.
Very well said and appropriate. So we need to, I invest in relationships where there's mutuality, where there's commitment to the relationship, not just one person always giving, one person always taking, and that doesn't work. So next question, because we've got
One thing
go
first,
ahead.
I'm sorry to, let me
Yeah.
just interrupt you. I did put in the chat our website and our,
You
our
put it
free-
in, I put it in the chat, you put it in
Oh,
the
okay.
Q&A,
In the
but I got it.
questions.
So yeah, all
Well, I
fine.
just wanted to say to you guys that we, in case you're not aware, we run, as Tammy was saying earlier, like 12 groups a week that are absolutely free. We have some really committed therapists who volunteer every week and have been, I think, for a few years, Tammy, volunteering to run a men's betrayal group, a women's betrayal group, a man who's a sex addicts group, a gay men's sex. I mean, we couples, I mean, we do lectures, and all of that is free. Podcasts are free, blogs are free, YouTube is free, and all of this interaction we do with you guys like this is free. And Tammy and I were really committed in the beginning that we wanted people who couldn't afford therapy and who couldn't afford treatment centers to get their needs met in this very difficult area. So that's of healing. So that's why we do this. And that's also why we talk about our work, so that we can continue to support those of you who really need the intense work. But anyway, stop by the website, if only because there's so much free stuff there. And as Tammy said, you can look back, gosh, now 2 years ago to see what blogs were being said, what she and I were talking about. Every single podcast tells you minute by minute what's in it. So you don't have to listen to all of them. Anyway, I'm doing a little encouragement, and thank you, Tammy. What is the
All
next
right. Next question. Gaslighting, denial, and inability to admit that he has done or minimize at least. I lose my mind. Can't handle having to convince him of obvious truths. Wrote up boundary. If you cannot admit fault, character issues, and apologize within 24 hours, get out. Fights are exhausting, painful over dumb things like you chose each acting out behavior, or you manipulate me, or you take me for granted. He cannot admit in moment. Only after hours of fighting does he cave and see, oh shoot.
I think there's a word limit, my guess is.
Oh, I found it. So here it is.
Oh.
The light. I'm so over the vicious cycle. I stated, if you continue this, I will ask you to leave. Abusive, I think. Crazy making.
Well, I would not want to be in a situation where what I have to say about it is I'm losing my mind. Like I said, I pay a lot of attention to language, and if I see a sentence like I lose my mind, I can't handle it, it's right in front of this person, but they won't talk about it. I wouldn't want to do that to myself. And I talked about a family member before that I don't have a very close relationship with. And I'll tell you what my requirement is for being a relationship is you have to be willing to own your stuff. If I am the only wrong one, if I am the only one who's angry, if I'm the only one, I can't be in a relationship with you, because then I'm always the problem. And so I really do agree with you that it's not just about admitting character issues and apologizing. I mean, those things are easy. I'm an asshole and I won't do it again. But I think the admitting fault part, the taking responsibility for what I have done and how it's affected you part, that cannot be skipped over, and that takes a lot of time. So I don't know what Tammy would say here, but it's hard for me to understand why you're there. The reason I think is because, I don't know, Tammy, when sometimes people write like, I hate them and I can't stand them and they're ruining my life and I shouldn't be here, but they're still there. And it's like, they're very angry, but there's a part of them that they're not even in touch with that is still deeply anchored in this relationship, because everything I read here doesn't really tell me why this person's staying. So what are your thoughts here?
Well, there was one more I found that says, was this an appropriate boundary? And my thought was, you're getting in a vicious fight trying to convince him. What happens if you take yourself out of the fight? Say, this is my expectations, and if you can't do this, what is the boundary? Get out. Okay, if it's this, and this, now it may be, character issues, and apologize within 24 hours, get out. And he's not what you gave a clear boundary. Get out if you can't do it within 24 hours, and you fight to get him to do it within 24 hours. So he's not really doing it within 24 hours. You're making him, so to speak. So to me, it doesn't feel like there's teeth to the boundary, it's not creating safety for you. You know, you're in chaos. So to me, like Dr. Rob said, is this working for you? What can you do to have safety for you? What do you know, if you just go, you know, whatever you do you, I'm going to go get support over here, you know. And I mean, if you take yourself out a notch, like if you just distance yourself a bit, if you show up differently, what will he do? I don't know, but if you're taking care of you, it just, you know, you being in chaos all the time, he's the focus, his addiction is the focus, it's all about him and the addiction and the lies. It doesn't get to be about you. What do you need to do for you? So
And I wanted to add something to the last piece, the very last. This person wrote like 3 different levels they really wanted to get through. And the question was, is this an appropriate boundary? And my answer is maybe. Because if you set a boundary of, I'm going to leave if you don't do this, here's the requirement. You have to leave. You have to decide. I mean, you have to be that, you know, it is not okay to threaten leaving, because if you don't, we learn a great lesson. Wow, you're going to make threats and not follow through. Isn't that great? I can have sex with all the people I want. You're just going to threaten me. So if whatever, I really advise spouses, if your commitment is, if you do this again, blah, 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 I'm leaving, then leave. You know, and don't negotiate and don't discuss. And well, if you decide to go to therapy, then leave, or make them, I like Tammy's idea better, make them leave.
and she
Because
did add that. So she said in the chat, so yeah, tough to call. Boundary is to get out of the house if he cannot do the new boundary. And she said, finally ready to follow through.
and
Wrote
I
it up
would
and
like to
signed it.
recommend, sorry, Tammy, go ahead.
No, it said wrote it up and signed it. That's good. That's
I would
good.
add to this that if you're married, it's a really good idea to see an attorney. Because when addicts don't want to be in recovery and we don't see our part and we start blaming you spouses for whatever it is we're blaming you for, some of us are not very interested in being kind to you. And some of us aren't particularly well, and we'll say, screw you, I'll just go find another wife. And so, or husband or whatever. So I really advise you, if you're dealing with someone who just doesn't get it, who is just doing lip service, who is driving you crazy, and it's been a period of time and you don't see them doing a whole lot to recover, and they're not listening and they're not responding and they're saying, get off my back, you know, all of that stuff. I think it's important for you to know your rights. Some of you have children. If I left, can I take the kids? Can I not take the kids? We have financial stuff. What would it be if I leave? It is worth having that information, so if things get so bad, you can figure out how to do this for a period. And it doesn't have to be, seeing a lawyer doesn't mean divorce. You can do a formal separation. I think it's really effective for us addicts, if you want to create change, for us to hear you say, I've gone as far actually as getting an attorney because I just don't trust that you're going to do this work. Wow, does that push us forward? Unless we're already off of the affair partner, in which case then you'll see our cards. So yeah, we have time for one more,
Yes.
Tammy, I
So
think.
this one is, I'm a betrayed partner for 3 years and have been with him for 13 years. What advice or suggestions do you have for me to help me get over the feeling of disgust when he tries to show affection? We have not been intimate, I'm assuming sexually, for 3 years. My self-esteem and self-confidence really took a hit. Please help.
Okay, I cannot find this question, Tammy. So
it scroll up. It's the third from the bottom in the answered.
oh, the third from the bottom, 1, 2, 3.
Yes. I'm the betrayed partner. Yes.
I
Yeah.
see.
It was because the other 2 came in, you know, and so anyway.
Well, there are different issues here. Like my self-esteem and self-confidence really took a hit. I don't think at this point that you can trust your partner to restore that. I would wonder whether it's a manipulation or whether it's temporary, or so I would hope that you can work on your self-esteem and self-confidence without necessarily depending on your partner. What will make you feel more beautiful? What will make you feel more attractive? What will make you enjoy your life more? What's more fun than sitting at home with this person? What hobbies and exercises and activities and hanging out with friends can you do to restore your self-esteem and self-confidence? Because we are addicts and we are inconsistent and challenging And especially, in a couple of years of recovery, I just don't know that we're going to be able to do much more than bring you a little bit of peace if we get there. But your self-esteem and self-confidence cannot come from us, because we have it, and especially around sex. Because as I said, we are actually quite avoidant of sex with people we're intimate with. It doesn't mean we don't care about you. It's just that we have issues. The same issues that led us out there to have sex with 50 people also leads us to avoid you in terms of being intimate. And so I would not judge my self-esteem or my self-confidence on whether my sex addiction partner has sex with me or not, or even shows interest, because we avoid intimacy with people we're close to. So the bottom line is we are really screwed up around relationships and intimacy. And for you to heal yourself for yourself might be the best place to turn, and then turn to us and say, I'm feeling strong and I have a good foundation and this is what I want and need. Because we are too mercurial, too unpredictable, too problematic for you to base your self-esteem on, unless you're really far along the road. Tami, do you have a thought before we?
I do have a quick thought, because I'm the betrayed partner for 3 years, but you don't say what he's been doing to work on himself. So all of the stuff that Dr. Rob was talking about for you, taking care of you, 100% agree. But also, what is he doing? Because if he's just showing up and going, yeah, hey, that would be off-putting to me. And so it would really be about what Dr. Rob was talking about in Out of the Doghouse. How is he showing up that he's rebuilding trust? And I really want to encourage you to work on the disgust, because I am confident that that you probably have a physical reaction with that disgust. So what do you need to do as part of healing you to understand that his addiction is him, and unfortunately it affected you, but it isn't about, like, it doesn't matter how you look, what you did or didn't do, that has nothing to do with his addiction. So two separate things, painful, absolutely, but you've been on a journey. I don't know what the journey involves. There's a couples healing from betrayal workshop that will start again in October with all of this stuff. Email me, Tami, Tami at seekingintegrity.com if you're looking for more connections and resources. But we have a lot of good stuff. But these are little snippets, so it's challenging to know what the whole story is. We have support sessions, 25 and 50-minute support sessions on seeking integrity. Those can be helpful for people too. So there's resources. And really, if he needs help, seekingintegrity.com, we have a treatment program.
Hey, Tami, you have stripes now. Are you aware of that? Do you see your stripes?
I do. I forgot about that. I'm doing my, I had a little light coming in.
You look like zebra.
The sun was,
Let me just say really quick.
Didn't pay attention.
No, you can leave it on there. I think the stripes are great. It's like Halloween. Or you look like some Indian.
I look like a zebra.
Like, yeah, or a Native American in a dance, or
there
something.
You go.
Anyway, let me say one more thing. The word disgust. I think Tami was talking about this earlier, is that, sex doesn't necessarily mean vaginal intercourse, or whatever kind of, it doesn't necessarily mean oral. I think that someone who's feeling disgust needs to go very, very slowly and have a lot of control. So would you be okay holding this person's hand? And that feels good. Well, what about if you're arm in arm? At what point does the disgust show up? Is it all the way through? Is it even just holding their hand? And how can you have some control over saying, okay, that's enough. That is as far as I want to go. You don't have to tell the person you feel disgusted, but you can just say, I'm wanting to take this really slow. And I think I reached the moment where I want to stop for tonight. I think the more control you have and the slower you take it, the easier it will be for that disgust to slowly filter out, if your partner is in recovery and not leaving you reasons to feel awful about yourself. Y'all have a good night.
All right. I know we didn't get to lots of them. Come back and visit us again. We'll do it all over again. Thanks.
We live here on Monday nights. See you guys.
Bye.